Hello and welcome to Autistic Radio, and thanks to our sponsors coldpack.co.uk that keeps the lights on here at Autistic Radio. If you go to coldpack.co.uk needing a cold pack, everything you spend will benefit us here. And now, Harry, let's have the evening's event, the Spectrum Voices 555. Take it away.
Thanks, Jules, and Happy New Year, everyone. This is Harry's Facebook for Sunday, the 4th of January 2026. This is where we go through the posts that have been shared on the autisticradio.com Facebook page. And the first post we talk about this year is from Panda. We're a charity organisation, and PANDA means Promoting Autism Neurodiversity Awareness. And I've shared the following. Musings of an Autist. No one is one thing. Intersectionality is where all our truths meet. Intersectionality means understanding that no one is just one thing. Our lives are shaped by the intersections of our neurotype, race, ethnicity, culture, class, disability, gender, sexuality, age, faith, migration status, body size, and every layer of our lived experience. It moves us beyond one-dimensional thinking, like seeing someone only as disabled, black, queer, working class, or neurodivergent, and instead asks us to recognise how these identities overlap and compound, creating very specific barriers and strengths. Intersectionality asks us all to understand that identities and experiences compound on one another, and to take those identities and experiences into consideration in all aspects of life. Update RE the Wheel with a big thank you from me to everyone who has taken time to comment. The visible versus invisible framing of disability creates a misleading hierarchy because the real divide is more often between acute and chronic conditions and how they are socially recognised or dismissed. Passing, non-visible or closeted disabilities may sometimes reduce immediate scrutiny, but they also render barriers and needs eligible. So treating them as analogous to structural privileges like whiteness obscures harm rather than naming it. The intersectional experience is qualitative different and not merely the sum of separate oppressions. It would be wrong to line up race, gender, class, disability, etc. side by side and then simply add them, precisely because this misses the interrelations and simultaneous interplay of inequalities. Intersectionality, in other words, is about how interlocking systems of domination create a new compound subject position, not about stacking identities on a wheel. Quite heavy, but what's people's thoughts on that?
Off the top of my head, I'm thinking that one way maybe to frame this is something that came up in the early part of your 444, which is like if you're taking long-term medication, there are effects on other things, like your body and the need for maybe other medications because, your blood pressure may be affected or your liver may be affected by the long-term use of certain medications. So I'm thinking about that in relation to intersectionality and the way things work together and are not just an accumulation of differences.
Although the latter part, in my opinion, does feel to go on the heavy side, I did like the beginning of it where it was trying to, or basically saying, simplifying it, but trying to be as fair as possible, and basically saying that identity and labels of all kinds separate people, but everybody is different anyway. But it's like the society we live in and the way things move forward, sometimes even to help people in a way in a social setting or in a society setting, is to label and put people in groups. But of course, what this is identifying is life's more complicated than that. But we still do need some of these terminologies, these names, so that we know what we're talking about. But I do get the point what it's trying to raise.
I think the graphic, the wheel, is quite useful. I mean, I've just looked at it from my own point of view, and I look at things like where it says housing, where I'm living, and my gender, and the fact that I'm neurodiverse. Um, all of the experience of my autistic identity is very different from everybody else's autistic identity. As soon as you just get to two or three of these other ideas link with it as a compound of different things. I'm not an immigrant. I'm a citizen. Um, I'm not. I haven't lived a whole life of low income. I've had very variable incomes. So all those other things that aren't about autism, I feel, have made my experience of autism a lot easier and healthier than many of the people I meet. That's where the intersectionality thing strikes me.
It's interesting that power is right in the centre.
Yeah, it's an interesting word, but then again, it's about your power rather than someone's power over you, I'm guessing.
That's a really good way to look at it, especially because when Jules was speaking, he was talking about how in his life, some aspects change. Like the household you live in, the income in that household can be different at different times in your life. And then I started to see this as less of a static image and more of a kaleidoscope. I don't know if that would be, well, that just was my opinion, sort of my thought.
It's
I like that concept of a constantly changing kaleidoscope.
sorry, I can't see if anybody's on or off because of the two screens. My thing is really small. Centralised power, it seems, from the diagram. It reminds me of the idea of the panopticon, the old design of prisons, where the centralised observation tower would observe everything around, so it gave you maximum 360-degree view of all the neurodivergence out there, all the difference. But then again, power is often seen as language, isn't it? And all of this is words.
I just thought of something that could be practical. If you don't have personal power over one element on the chart, but it would help you in some way to look at another element of your intersectionality and make an improvement there, I wonder if it would ease things for you. So look around the wheel and see what you have control over and work on that if you know you're really stuck on another.
The next post is from Autistic Flair. Autistic Flair is an online community and resource hub dedicated to amplifying autistic voices to change perceptions of autism to create a more inclusive society. And what they're talking about is January and January challenges. That seems to be the norm in some societies. And they shared a presentation, which I'll share some of before we move on to discussion. And what it's called is the last thing autistic me needs right now is a January challenge. Everywhere I look, people are cutting things out or completely turning their lives upside down because that's what you're meant to do at the start of a new year, right? Excuse me. And I'm not here to judge anyone trying to better themselves, truly. This is just me being honest with myself, maybe for the first time. But the truth is, radically changing my life in January is the last thing I need. January is already known as one of the hardest months of the year. And as an autistic person, I need routine. December offers anything but that. By the time January arrives, I'm emotionally and physically drained. What's your thoughts so far on this? Do they recognise it? Do they identify with it? What Robbie shared is a lot of my identity was buried by masking, and trying to improve myself is an ongoing process.
Yeah, it's a very inconvenient time to, it's the whole resolution thing, isn't it? The so-called New Year resolution, which, like Christmas and a lot of things to me, I just think is fake. But, a lot of people participate in that, so I'm just one guy.
The 2 days ago, one of my good friends, very understanding person, sent me a message and I took it at face value. And he has I realized after I answered it that he was joking in a supportive way, asking if I had set any, he didn't call them resolutions, but that's what he meant. And then he said in it, I haven't. though I could set myself a goal today to do it. And then I answered in a straight up fashion, kind of that a stereotypic autistic way. I just answered it. And then only the next day did I realize he was joking about the whole thing, thinking that it's, probably he knew it wouldn't be good for me.
Yeah, it's been mentioned in the text, and I think I recall this conversation. Was the New Year resolution was not to make any more New Year resolution. I don't know if that was either through discussion here or even possibly a post that was shared, but that sort of kind of connects well with the post that we're reading and talking so far. It's just this thing of you don't need to have a resolution. It's just something that people talk about, and it suits many people. I mean, I've did it myself. There's been some things that have changed, but then sometimes the things that I don't change, it's like this pressure I put on myself. I mean, and also, it's not just that. It's like you're supposed to. Well, I don't know if you're supposed to, but people generally in conversation tell people about things like that. Like my New Year resolution is going to be I'm going to stop doing this. Something I've done for years and feel comfortable with. I'm just going to stop doing that for whatever reason, if it's through health or just changing the routine or whatever. And then you say you're going to stop doing that, and then you find it hard to stop doing it, and then you feel bad that you've lied because you're unable to do it. It's kind of, it's just one of those things. It's good in one way, but another way, it's amazing how many of artistic selves can put ourselves really over a tiz over it because it's something that's expected rather than being a choice.
I'm seeing wise words in the text here, so I want to read them. They're not mine, they belong to Robbie. Robbie, who made the joke about saying that his last New Year's resolution was to stop making fucking New Year's resolutions, explains that defining a time to make changes equals pressure on him, especially as an autistic person. He also says that in winter, when he's distressed, that's the worst time to make a change. And he sees that every day is a new beginning. Waking up every day is a new beginning. And I think that leads into this idea that a new year beginning is a false thing. If it is an impetus for some people to make a change that they want to make, fine. But like Robbie says, if every day is a new beginning, then every day you get the opportunity to make a change, not just the 1st of January. And the changes that have stuck in my life are not ones that I ever made on a specific date. They're ones that I decided that needed doing, and gradually I got into the position to make myself accepting and ready to do it, and all that run up, and then when I was ready, I didn't wait until January the 1st to make the decision. I got on with it then, and I think those are the ones that stuck.
I like that, Jules. I often think that we're constantly changing, and it's just getting used to that idea, aware of that constant change. It's very gradual, you almost don't see it. But if you can get into that kind of time frame rather than this decisiveness thing, which is like choice, isn't it? It's like hit or miss sometimes. So I think I would reflect on what you just said there in that sense of like, don't put the pressure on for a yes or no button. Just be aware that things are constantly changing. It's like the old David Cassidy song, isn't it? How can I be sure in a world that's constantly changing?
Looking at it each day in the beginning is something I've learnt from Indigenous culture. And I'm having to learn to start again and not treating it as a failure.
Yeah, I like that a lot, Robbie. The only thing I was thinking about this year is to see the sunrise more often, which is very similar to what you're saying, and more easily done in the winter.
Continuing on with the presentation, what it says, what it finished on is, it says, by the time, what I stopped at the, I'll just shut up, just go on with it. Just continue with the presentation. By the time January arrives, I'm emotionally and physically drained. My usual interests, mostly running and cycling, are often disrupted by the weather. Today's snow is a prime example. This means my usual movement, energy levels, and mental reset just disappear. Eating different foods at different times, without my usual I know this works meals, is way more draining than it sounds. I enjoy trying new foods in small doses, but when that lasts for weeks, it stops being fun and starts feeling overwhelming. Even small things, like not having my usual morning order or weekday structure, throw me off more than people expect. And the pressure to be sociable and have a picture perfect break ramps everything up even more. So when January comes around, what I need isn't another reset, challenge, or transformation. What I need is to return to my routine. It might not be on trend or exciting, but routine and predictability is what generally helps me feel good, regulated, and grounded. What's your thoughts?
There's a link back to the intersectionality thing here, isn't there? If you've decided or you realize that there needs to be a change, it's usually something that you have to go without. Stopping smoking, stopping drinking, eating less, exercising more, going without certain things, going out, sitting down and doing nothing. And those kind of changes are all affected by everything else in your life. So this time of year, when the weather's bad, things aren't easy for us to do, the other supports in our life, the other intersectional supports and things, if they're not in the best position, how can we make these big changes, this one big change that we want to make? I don't think I gave up alcohol, which was a huge change I had to make, until other things were more certain, more settled, more organized, and I had a basis to work from. And I don't think this time of year generally is the basis to work from to give yourself privations. And like the poster says, we need to get back to our secure footing, our foundation from which we can have the strength to make changes that we know we need to make.
what's been shared in the text from Robbie. What I need is stability, regularly meaningful socialising. Almost all support is gone in winter. And I get that. And from my side, and just while talking and listening about and reading the presentation about the January thing, the New Year resolution, almost call it a nonsense, really, when you kind of get deeper into it. What I want to return after the Christmas, December sort of month, which is good in some ways but disruptive in others, is going back to routine. I mean, I even look forward to my new diary and putting in all the dates for the year ahead, because everything in January, sometimes earlier, sometimes later, just depends when the festive period sort of ends, what day New Year falls, I suppose. Writing it all down, when things, the structure, the meetings I'm going to, the basically the scheduling of my life, and knowing what I'm doing in some days and then fitting other things in other ways and other days. So, but it is strange though about the new year and how it goes. It's like the new year begins in the middle of winter. It feels like sometimes New Year or the sort of awakening is more like springtime, because it's like hibernation of the way that winter is, and then things begin to open up a bit more when it gets to March, April months, or sometimes later. It just depends on the weather. Scotland, it can be quite, erratic, and not just in terms of bad weather, which isn't really that bad, really, in comparison to other parts of the world, but just how inconsistent it can be. And that's one thing that you can't schedule and you can't stick in a routine, because it's different all the time.
I think some cultures do make the spring equinox the start of a new year. And I seem to remember there are cultures which make these changes in the springtime because people feel as though they have more. There's more support around them. There's more to look forward to, and the calendar new year seems like an unlikely choice. We have people saying that Robbie says spring would be better, a much better time to do new things, and that almost all support is gone in the winter time. Socializing is more difficult, being out, all the activities are more difficult. So if you're removing something from your life at the time when so many other things have been taken away, it makes things much more challenging.
Jules, you're in the Southern Hemisphere just now. What season is it currently?
Well, not quite in the Southern Hemisphere. I'm really far down south, towards the equator. And we were having a discussion, and we're looking at the vegetation, and the vegetation here looks more like it doesn't have a season. There's rice growing in the fields in all stages. But I was having a meal with a local family, sitting down on the floor inside a shop that I had bought something from a few hours ago, and they were explaining that the chapatis that we were eating were made of sorghum these 2 months, and the previous months they had been chickpeas, and then the previous months they had been wheat. Yeah, seasonality is very northern based, isn't it? Because other cultures have a much more similar experience of the weather around you?
Well, if we compare our culture to others, yes. So you're kind of north of the equator then, just slightly. So you're tropical. Is it tropical Capricorn? Anyway, it's just that there you go. You know, time and space are kind of relative. But culture does dictate how people think. And Janus, the face that looks backwards and forwards, that January is named after, that's Roman mythology. I think your springtime thing is what Rome conquered to a certain extent, which was British or Brittonic or Celtic, Druidic even, culture, which followed those cycles. But I think there's preparation for spring too. There's festivals in February. And of course, when you're in the midst of the darkness round about Christmas, well, what have you got to do? You've got to make plans.
Yeah, I agree with that a lot. And it was the Romans who decided when January 1st was, I think. I'm pretty sure. And also, it wasn't always that somebody needed there to be a first day of the year. So that's when they calendarized it.
Yeah, it's amazing these things you take for granted, and we don't really fully understand what they are.
The next post is from But We Are All a Little Autistic, Aren't We? And it's a personal blog from writer Emma Dalmain. And the post is an introductory post, but also a milestone post, which is celebrating 500 followers and thanking people for following. So thank you to everyone who is following. An intro: my name is Emma Dalmain. I'm an autistic mum, campaigner, author, activist, and CEO of an autistic-led organisation called Autistic Inclusive Meets, based in South East London. I have written 3 books so far. 2 are on the www.elklan.co.uk. It's an autism thing, I'll help understand it, and Susie Spins. And my newest one is called But We're All a Little Bit Autistic, Aren't We? The collective works of Emma Dalmain. I debunk the saying, we are all a little bit autistic in the book. Please do leave me a review on Amazon, Ekland Books, or Waterstones if you buy any of my books. I love to read what people think of them. We've shared Emma's work before, so just thought I'd share it again. What's people's thoughts? Has anybody read any of Emma's books?
That's one thing I've never done, is buy into the autistic literature economy. I don't know what it is, it doesn't attract me.
I have an app from the library. I'm sure you have a different one, but by you I mean anybody anywhere may have access to an app like this. So sometimes I withdraw a book on the app and just listen to the first bit, and I've never yet found one that I would like. Though I will say, based on these titles, And the fact that she debunks the myth that we are all a little bit autistic, aren't we? They do sound lovely, like Susie Spins sounds like something I might like to give a try.
Yeah, it's like a book to have a relationship with rather than this in this current culture dipping in and out of AI created snippets of information, even Wikipedia entries, you know. It's like, oh, I've got an answer now, I know what to say now, I know what to think, I found it. Whereas with a book, you could sit there and just explore in its continuity the voicing, the character, the feel of the relationship.
I'm not happy to go along with this absolutism, this idea that when somebody says, well, we are all a little bit autistic, aren't we, that they are communicating a denial of people's identity. I think when people say this, they are being inclusive, and they are saying that the things that make people autistic are more pronounced natural human traits. So to people saying this, it makes absolute sense. They are communicating something. And I find it a little bit irritating that there are groups of autistic people that dictate that this is something that should never be said, because it is an honest piece of communication from other people.
I think it's just a defence mechanism, possibly with not other opinions as well, of feeling possibly patronised by that sort of statement, whether it's kind of being as inclusive as it can be or not. And I think it depends who says it, or maybe just someone's just irritated at being said. But you're right, it's not something you don't want to kind of ban things from being said, but just to open up that some people may not take offence to it, but others will.
Yeah, Robbie said in text it's how it's meant. I mean, we're all a little bit autistic is very different from what my GP said to me, which was, well, we're all on the spectrum, which is to me a very different statement from we're all a little bit autistic. It's almost like a little bit autistic. It's like appropriation. It's like a neurotypical person saying, you don't get to own this autism term, which you shouldn't anyway. But, well, shouldn't. I disagree with. But, and so there's this thing of taking it back, appropriating it back and saying, but we're all this, it's not just yours.
I think that when you read all of her titles and then really look at that one, when she says a little bit, it's very inviting. It's friendly. So I have a feeling it might be a good book, and that a person who might say that statement with the little bit in it, it's friendly. It's sort of like a little olive branch saying, we don't know, but I don't know because I haven't read the book, but it might be positive in the way Jules is described.
Maybe, but I see it as diminishing.
Robbie says in the text it is used to dismiss challenges autistic people have living in a society designed by and for neurotypical people.
I think Robbie's correct on that. It is used like that, but it can be something else. And I think all I'm trying to say is about this absolutism. And I'm just putting it out there live. For those people that are going to contact me at news@autisticradio.com to tell me that I am absolutely wrong, I'm not going to reply. My reply now is that I'd feel differently to you.
The next post is from Echo Rainey, who is from Life of Echo and is a happiness consultant and speaker and author and facilitator, helping humans to be emotionally equipped, joy without guilt, boundaries with heart, corporate coaching, educator workshops, evidence-based and based in the United States. And they posted through a public group called Unmasking AUDHD Her. And it says the following: you are allowed to be proud of weird little wins, like drinking water before coffee, like not texting someone who made your soul feel small, like folding the laundry even though it sat there for 3 business days. Your life doesn't need to be impressive to be worth celebrating. Let the small things count too. What's your thoughts?
Sometimes a small win for me is just getting something out of the way.
I like that they're weird little things. It means this list would be different for everybody.
I liked the post from a few readings, and even when I first read it. It's kind of connecting with this sort of New Year resolution thing, but also milestones that people share, and that people shouldn't feel that things are measured as one being more important than another, especially within yourself. Like, there's things that I've done and I've wee celebrations. I may not share it on Facebook or share it with anyone. I may just share it alone. It's like making a phone call that I thought this is going to be quite difficult. Making that phone call, doing what I feel I need to do, and completing it, even if it wasn't perfect, but things got done. After that, I'm sitting not just relieved, but also satisfied and almost like I want to dance, because I thought I dreaded doing that, but I felt I needed to do it, and I did it, and I did it without drama. And even if it was a little drama, I still did it. And it's little things like that. Like, another example is like going to a shop that's a bit further away than my local shop to top up my electricity because the one nearest to me doesn't do it anymore. It wasn't that far away, the shop, but it's just sometimes I don't want to leave the house. I felt nice and secure, but I thought I need to get out the house, even though it's only a 5-minute walk there and a 5-minute walk back. It's just like not being in that mood to, talk to people, even if it's just to ask for something from someone in the shop. But actually just getting out and doing it and then coming back and then feeling, I did that. And it feels such an achievement, and it feels worth celebrating alone, if not with other people. And I do think that those sort of things are very important for your well-being. I mean, there's so many things you can say and post, but a lot of things that you do are worth celebrating if it's a positive one.
Were you pushing yourself to go out, Harry, or did you feel the time was right for you to do it? You had the energy.
I felt, don't get me wrong, I delayed the things that I'm talking about. Sometimes I delay by a day or two and then get myself kind of prepared for it. And then once things feel right enough, just to just do it. I don't push myself if I don't feel able enough to do it. I only push myself if I feel a bit better now. Let's give it a go, rather than say you must. Because as soon as you say you must, like certainly in my experience, that's what makes you stressed out.
I think we have to trust ourselves that we know what's right for us, yeah?
Yes. I love what you said, Robbie. Sorry. I love what you said, Harry. Sorry.
Robbie has shared something though. I can identify with it as well. Getting washing up done is a big win because of how tired and unmotivated I am because of being depressed. So getting an activity done, even if you're not feeling the best way, yeah, totally agree with that. I totally can get that. And he also says, what is small for one person might be big for someone else.
Yeah, I can remember doing the washing in the bath with my feet and stuff, you know, when I didn't have a washing machine. It's kind of like now it's just load it up, fill it up, switch it on.
Robbie also says something else that's very true. The word must. Must makes it a demand. Totally agree. And if you're making a demand on yourself, that's not very helpful.
Jules is saying in the text that we are some of the rudest cunts out there. You, meaning autistic people, perhaps have been hurt, and they are also hurting people. So when you're hurt, one of the consequences is you pass that hurt on to others. It's maybe not intentional, but then I'm interpreting now what someone else has said, so stop there.
I don't know if I'm saying it elegantly enough, Ray. I live with I am surrounded in my life by autistic people. My relatives, my wife, myself, my friends. And they communicate in ways that I find really, really difficult. And I find that arguing back about the rest of the neurotypical world, dismissing or being rude to us with things like you don't look autistic, etc., should be tempered by our understanding of what we are doing and how we are communicating to other people. And I do believe that when we get hurt, we hurt other people. And I do believe that autistic people are some of the rudest, difficult people out there. And and we bring upon ourselves many of the misunderstandings by our reactions. Now, I understand that many of us feel that we cannot in any way control those reactions, but we have to at least witness the process, because we are intelligent enough and we are cognizant enough to see what happens to other people when we are communicating with them.
Yeah, I don't think we can win against the world. We can't beat it. So I think the onus is on us, if we have any kind of wherewithal, to be the ones, the gracious ones, who see the bigger picture and work for a better world. So Harry's on a wee break there. Should I read the next post, or shall I wait for him coming back? Has anybody got anything else they want to say?
Right, I wonder if you want to go through some of the texts here, because there's a conversation happening that's interesting.
I don't want to take ownership of anything, so would you like to read them?
No, I understand. Okay.
I'll read them though in a very neutral way, because it's good to be neutral. So after what you said, we had, well, I was, replying to what you said about being hurt and also hurting other people, and what you were saying about the autistic environment. And I thought, like, does this mean you like normal people for a bit of relief? And then Robbie says, I have had same problem with autistic people, so I'm sure he's agreeing with you there, empathising. Teresa then says, agree, my sister often felt that I thought she was stupid based on my reactions and communication. GR said, compromise is no crime, which is the idea of, well, there's a lot in that idea. Robbie says he gets tired of blame culture. Harry is back. And then Robbie says he gets sick of people assuming that he has misunderstood what they have said because he is autistic. I don't know what it means. They think they're using the autism as a... Oh no, I'm interpreting. Fuck off, Ray. Stop.
I've on numerous occasions had people assuming that I'm the one that's had that's misunderstood because I'm autistic. This idea that autistic people always get things wrong.
So their interpretation.
The next post is from One Blog at a Time. Personal blog. ASD, SNL, anxious girly, safe space to be yourself, someone who loves to read, finding joy in small things, being authentic self. Finding joy, Megan. And it shared the following. What will 2026 bring me? As it's been 3 days since 2026 started, this year will be a year I can start to get out a little bit more. Of course, still listen to my mind and body if I don't want to go out for any reason. But little steps just to leave the house for a few minutes, whether it's going for a walk or even going food shopping, etc. Hopefully this year, try and go to a concert and watch my favourite K-pop group BTS. As people on here know, I'm a huge fan, as I love their music and what they stand for as a group and as individual people they are. Try and see my friends more, as socialising is so important for my communication skills and also my mental health. Carry on with jumping rope, skipping, to keep my body moving and also staying healthy. And find some new hobbies to do and also try new things that can maybe fun or scary to do. What will be your new thing this year? What's people's thoughts? This one
Oh,
kind of turns it on its head.
yeah, I love it because she's just putting a list of things she could do, not stop doing. And also, if she doesn't feel like it, she won't do them. But I especially love skipping, and it made me wonder, the feeling you had skipping when you were little, it was such a nice feeling. I wonder if you skipped, because usually you skip because you feel happy. I wonder if you were skipping, you would feel happier.
I love skipping, and I tried a bit of skipping as a 60-year-old man, skipping along. Unfortunately, I loved it. It gave me a buzz, but my knees aren't great for it, and walking is actually easier on my knees.
Robbie shares his repeating of last year and the year before. But yeah, I like this post. And I like the way that the posts have kind of carried, the route it's taken, from the most recent to, as it progresses through to near the end of the podcast. It's like there's a lot of kind of seriousness in it about New Year resolutions and, the stringent and how we should be against that. And rightly so, there's people kind of having sort of kind of, really deep, meaningful thoughts about new things, new year. And you get posts such as these just talking about, even though it's grounded in terms of don't put pressure on yourself, it's this sort of happy, like, I want to try this and this and that if I'm feeling up to it, and I look forward to doing it if I'm able to do it. I don't mean that in a patronising way, but it just feels so comforting when you read something like that. Because sometimes I've got a knack of when planning to do something and then not doing it, although I do tell other people or advise other people not to be down yourself about it, I've got a habit of doing that myself anyway. It's just a nice, happy post that is nice to share for the new year. And it also asks others what they want to do.
It's a really intelligent post as well. It's the opposite of on the 1st of January saying, I am going to do this, that, and the other. It's the whole year that they're looking ahead and embracing the possibilities and saying what they'd like to do more of and what they'd like to continue and what they'd like to try new. That feels much healthier as a new year look forward. I congratulate them.
I like to see the expression of desire, and there's a lot of it in the autistic community. I may not agree with a lot of it, but yeah, desire is an important aspect to life, realising and expressing that aspect of yourself. The things out there you may want to participate in or be a part of. Yeah.
Is there a moment for me to share my answer to my friend who really didn't want to make a New Year's resolution?
Yep.
Go
Whoops.
on.
Thank you. So I said mine wasn't as cute or lovely as this, but I said that I wanted to do three things, tiny little bit, if I felt like it. And one of them was nature. It could be as simple as looking out my window when the sun rises in the morning. Another option, because I don't have to do these things, were I called it sports phys ed, but I could simply watch something on the Olympics. I didn't have to actually do it. But if I was going to do it, I would do this thing called an AWE walk. I go for a walk, not for exercise, but to see what wonderful things I could see. And the third one was it honestly could be 5 minutes a day of some music, looking at some beautiful photography or something, but no pressure, a few minutes a day of something good.
I have a whole load of things that I'm trying to do, but I have to overcome the exclusion in the village and the transport problems. I want to work on my music. I want to go out wearing some of my costume stuff more. But I have all these obstacles put in my way by neurotypical society that has to be sorted to enable it.
Well, thanks everyone. That was a great discussion tonight. We covered a lot of ground, which was basically around January and New Year's resolution. So thanks again for everyone who joined us tonight and discussed tonight. This is Harry's Facebook for Sunday the 4th of January 2026, which is part of the Spectrum Voices conversation, which is live every Sunday from 5:55 p.m. to 7 p.m. UK time. And I look forward to doing it again next week. So good night and thanks for joining us.